So welcome what if Naruto was most powerful play game in DxD world and got Harem with Xenovia, Tsubaki movie. The class started to laugh loudly at the teacher, the man about 5'4", slightly on the pudgy side with a balding of the hair. He was not happy as he was holding up a whoopee cushion that was the source to the roaring laughter. Quiet down. His face was red with both rage and embarrassment, red like a ripe tomato ready to be picked. However, this tomato was mad with fury as he scanned the classroom looking for who it could be. Then his dark brown eyes landed on his suspect, a teenage boy, slim by the looks of his neck, no bulge in his midsection, suggested that the boy was skinny despite not being active in athletics. Blonde spiky hair, weird whisker-like marks that seemed to be birthmarks, and blue eyes that looked everywhere but at the teacher. It was him, it had to be, Uzumaki, principal's now. He pointed at the door, his face still red with anger and embarrassment. What? Confusion fell on the blonde, hurt and betrayal too, although it seemed to be fake. I didn't do anything. I don't care, principals, now. He stomped his foot, maybe a way to show that he was putting his foot down, but still the point got across. Fine, Naruto started to pack up his stuff while grumbling about how he's innocent and didn't know anything about the whoopee cushion. This is Naruto Uzumaki, a blonde-haired teenager of the age of 17, even though he has some muscle he never really worked out, eating all the time, and playing only video games, did not give him the average couch potato body that some teens his age with his lifestyle had. He would chalk it up to his high metabolism, which is why he seems so hyperactive all the time. He burns more than he can eat by just sitting still. His grades are poor, mostly because he doesn't care. He has no respect towards anyone, unless they've earned it. Anyone in power, whether it be a teacher, student council, or even the principal, he shows no respect and just calls it how he sees it. So, was he going to the principal's office? No, he was not. Instead he went outside, dodged some of the windows, and managed to get around to the side of the school. It was a part of Kuo that just about no one ever really visits. Hidden by some bushes next to the old school building is a small clearing. In that clearing is a simple cardboard box with some blankets tucked in. Next to the box was two bowls, one was empty with some crumbs, while the other still had some clear liquid inside, water. Naruto knelt next to the box and pulled out a can from his bag. It was some moist cat food. He opened the can and dumped it out into the bowl, and then sat cross-legged. Kurama, here kitty, kitty, he called out. A meow came from the bushes, and a ginger cat came trotting out of the bushes with a freshly dead mole in its mouth. The cat was a cutie. It was male, this was obvious from the back. It had orange and white fur with bright green eyes. It carried the mole right to the blonde and dropped it in front of him. The blonde chuckled and pulled out a plastic baggie and placed the dead creature inside. This happens a lot. Kurama would always show up with a dead animal and present it to the boy as a gift, then the cat would eat. He found Kurama during his sophomore year, which was also his first year at Kuo Academy. The kitten at the time was scrounging for food but steering clear of other people. One day Naruto took a can of tuna and placed it in front of him. It took some time, but soon Kurama was eating in front of the blonde, then it climbed into his lap and let the blonde pet him. The rest is history. What's his name? Naruto swung his head around to where he heard the voice. From the second-floor window of the old school building a beautiful red-haired girl was leaning out. From what he could see she seemed to be fit, but blessed with otherworldly features, that being her ridiculously large bust size. Her seafoam eyes shone with curiosity as she waited to hear what the cat's name was. Naruto was at a loss for words. He had never once seen someone so beautiful in his life. She was breathtakingly beautiful, and her smile did not help with him finding his voice. It was thanks to a small bite from Kurama that brought him out of his stupor. Ow, hey. He then heard the redhead giggle. Sorry, his name's Kurama. You know animals on school grounds are a violation. It wasn't said in a way that meant that she wasn't going to tell, more like a teasing way. Are you going to tell on me? His voice though showed that he would lash out if anyone tried to take the cat away from him. No, just a bit of teasing. So what's your name? Naruto, he just gave his first name. Fishcake? No. He glared. Maelstrom. Oh, okay Narukoi, she smiled when he showed annoyance. So, what's your name, Tomato? He asked in a rude way. This caused her to look surprised. 2 reasons, one was the choice in name, she's never been called Tomato before, and 2 was that she was the most popular girl in school. How did he not know her? Rias Gremory. Oh, one of the 2 great ladies, okay, he paused for a moment, Princess Tomato, no Tomato Harem. Don't call me that, she huffed by puffing out her cheeks blushing. Now you're ripe tomato, he almost fell over in laughter. That does it, she declared and closed the window. Naruto thought he had won the day. Tomato Harem seemed mad. Kurama. He began to lightly pet the cat smiling at the beautiful day. Then he heard a ruffling in the bushes. Rias came busting through the foliage, her face as red as a tomato. Kurama heard her and leapt from the lap of the blonde to the safety of the box. Now say it to my face, she dared him. From his position he could see a bit of her black panties with how short her skirt was, couple that with how she folded her arms that made her breast look bigger. Fighting back the blush he stood up and faced her, to he got closer with each syllable pronounced, her glare intensified. Don't call me that. Well don't call me Narukoi. Why not, it's cute, she realized what she said and started to blush more, she backed up a bit when she finally notices how close they were, but I didn't mean well she just embarrassed herself and Naruto was loving it. I might just have to pick you, he made a snatching motion with his hand and this made her blush more, then he realized what he said and how it would have been taken, wait no, what I meant was. Now they both were embarrassed, sorry, they blushed again when they said it at the same time, no, you first, again, it was at the same time. Sorry for calling you Narukoi, I was just teasing, Rias did look apologetic. Naruto had a similar look, same, if you don't like it, I'll stop. Well, if you let me call you Narukoi, I'll accept tomato Heim, Rias was looking down, a face as red as her hair. Okay, Naruto agreed, then they noticed that Kurama had come out of his box, he started to rub on Naruto's legs, he meowed at Rias, she knelt and tried to get him to come, which he did, and began to pet the orange cat. That's a sweetie, she smiled at how friendly the cat was, he kept rubbing his head into her hand, as she continued to pet him, she looked up at the blonde, by the way, should you be in class? Should you? Naruto retorted. I have a free period, what's your excuse? She smirked as she rose to stand and put her hands on her hips. I pranked the teacher, and he sent me to the principal's office, Rias had a dumbfounded look at how nonchalant he said that. So, the principal sent you out here? Nope, I never went to the principal. What? Why? Rias always obeyed the teachers, if she was told to do something, she would do it, but the teen standing with her seemed like the opposite, she wouldn't put it past a boy to flip the teacher off if they asked him to do something. Why should I? Naruto huffed, just because he's a teacher I'm supposed to listen to him. Ha, no thank you, I give respect when it's earned. I get that but still, aren't you afraid of being expelled? Rias would hate it if she couldn't go to the school anymore. I don't want to be here ever, I'm forced to come here because my guardian knows the principal to the school and believes I should get a higher education, he smacked his hands together, forget that, I don't want or need a higher education. Why not? I don't need some stupid piece of paper that says how important I am, he crossed his arms and huffed once again. That's shocking, I'm surprised, most people I know all they think about is their future and what they are going to do to get that, to her this boy was strange, never had she met someone that spat in the face of authority, doesn't let others determine his worth, and when it comes to life and fate, he flips them both off, he was interesting, may I ask what it is that you want to be then? What do you mean want to be? Naruto asked confused, me and I won't want to be anything else. That shocked her, all around her were people that constantly fought at being what they are, but here is someone that not only accepts who and what he is but loves it, that's very deep, but I meant like career-wise really. Oh, well nothing really, I love what I do now. Really? What's that? I get paid to write reviews on video games, the magazine I work for already say that they will take me on full-time, once I'm done with high school, then I get to do what I love, play video games all day every day, he developed a huge smile when he started to talk about games. So, you get paid to play video games? Yep, I just have to write my thoughts about them, which I do, and they keep the money coming, plus I get free games weeks sometimes months before they come out. What magazine do you write for? Game Geek. Really? That's a popular magazine, isn't it? Yep, #1 in Japan, but #2 worldwide. So how popular are your articles? I don't know, but I get paid a lot so I must be pretty popular, Naruto shrugged. Wow, that's pretty cool, I'm kind of jealous. Well, you know what they say, if you're good at something don't do it for free. Are you that good? I guess, I have won first place in 3 gaming tournaments and I got second place twice in worldwide tournaments for the game Overwatch. Wow, that's impressive, she started to clap at that, he was doing mock bows like he was in front of an audience. Yeah, mainly I'm playing Smash on my Switch and I've won 1 tournament for that so far. Smash. Yeah, Super Smash Bros, it's really fun, you get to choose different characters from other games and fight in a free-for-all brawl melee type gameplay. Cool, at that time the bell rung, oh, guess I better get to my next class, what are you going to do? Me? Go to my class, probably get kicked out and then end up back here or on the roof. Percentage-wise how often do you go to school? 12. They both laughed at that, well, you have a good day Tomato Heim. You too Narukoi. Ooh still stings, he started to chuckle and she in turn did too, when she was gone and out of earshot, he turned to Kurama who was back in his box looking up at him, she was actually pretty cool, hey Kurama. The cat did nothing except closed his eyes and started to nap. "She's really pretty too." This was more to himself than the cat. He shrugged, pulled out his Switch from his bag and started to play some Smash Brothers. It happened again, another one of Naruto's pranks got him kicked out class. This time he had to stand out in the hall holding 2 buckets of water. As soon as the door was closed to the classroom he was gone. The buckets just sitting out in the middle of the hall, probably a hazard, and the blonde nowhere near them. He was heading straight to Kurama's box once again. He wanted to play some more Smash earlier, but cold because of a conversation with a very pretty girl, and now he was hoping to get the chance. Naruto really wanted to see her again, but for now his favorite spot with his favorite cat waited for him. "Hey Kurama, did you miss?" He stopped when he noticed that there was someone there in his spot with his cat in her lap. She seemed like a grade schooler, white hair cut short in the back, but long in the front with twin bangs on either side of her pale face. Golden eyes had a look of indifference in them, the same look that you would see on a cat. Those eyes were looking at him as she pet the orange cat. "Who are you? Is he yours?" she asked him, watching him all the same, trying to see if he would slip up at any moment. "I feed him, yes, and make sure he is warm and safe, but he's not bound to me per se. He comes and go as he pleases." She nodded at that. It seemed as though that was the answer she wanted to hear. "Kaneko, and by the way, he did miss you. He was lonely, so I was keeping him company." She had such a stoic voice. Any other person saying that would show something akin to happiness, but it seemed like it was an annoyance just to utter the first syllable. "Naruto, but how do you know he missed me?" "He told me." "What? Are you some kind of cat whisperer or something?" She nodded. Was she joking or making fun of him? What was her deal? "Whatever." He sat down. Kurama looked up at the girl, seemed to nod, then leapt to the lap of the blonde. Naruto began to pet him and scratch his favorite spots. "He really likes you." Naruto nodded, "and he trusts you too." "Yeah? Wait, how do you know that?" She just stared. "Oh, I see, he told you. Do you like cats?" That was a weird question. "Yeah, I would take him home with me, but the place I live at has a no pets allowed policy, but sometimes I sneak him inside with me if it's going to rain or too cold outside." For a strange reason the girl blushed slightly as she stood up. "Good day." "Hey, where are you going?" "To the club room, free period." "Club room?" She pointed up to the second-story window. "Hey, do you know Rias Gremory?" She nodded. "Is she in your club as well?" "President." "Oh, she's president. What's the club?" "The Cult Research Club." "Sounds cool, I guess. What do you do?" "Secret." If it was a joke, she made no sign as such. "Okay, well, have fun I guess." She nodded, then began to walk away. She was a little weird, huh boy? The cat said nothing. He just stayed in the blonde's lap and purred contently. Naruto shrugged and started up his Switch and began to play his game. When the bell rung stating that the day was over, Naruto packed up his Switch in his bag. "Well, gotta go Kurama." When Naruto got out to the courtyard, he took notice of a large group of girls huddled together. At first, he showed no interest in the group until saw red hair. Taking notice of the red in the huddle, he saw that it was Rias. When he noticed it was her, their eyes locked and she waved at him. He smiled and waved back. Then he noticed that the huddle of girls started to turn and stare at the blonde. Everyone in the school knew who he was. Hess, the lazy prankster that always gets kicked out of class. The group seemed shocked to see that the most famous girl in school just waved at the most infamous boy in school. Naruto took notice of the stares. Some were glares. He frowned at them, looked down, then turned to leave. He didn't see the crestfallen look on Ria's face, nor could he hear her call out to him over the crowd of other students. No, instead he continued to his destination, a quiet cafe that he frequents a lot that has good cake and drinks. He likes to go there on occasions to play games or to write his game reviews on his laptop. It's also where he meets with his editor to discuss the status of one of his reviews. Location set in his mind, he set off towards the cafe. However, he would find that tonight would be the last night of his normal dull life. Later that same night, Naruto had worked late at the cafe. He played some of his games, sure, but he also worked on his new review for a game exclusive to this box that was going to be coming out in 3 weeks. His deadline for the review was set for the end of this week, that was tomorrow, but he had the review done thanks to the calm atmosphere of the cafe. The tea he gets helps him focus, and he loves the peanut butter cookies they have. On his way home, that's when the proverbial shit hit the metaphorical fan. Naruto was minding his own business, just listening to some tunes on his headphones, when he noticed something odd happening in the park clearing. It appears to be some young boy cowering in fear of a woman with black wings. He saw a spear made of pink light in her hands pointed at the young boy. This would be a strange situation for any one normal person passing by. However, Naruto is far from normal. There is a race of humans, they are called heroes, not ones that are reincarnated from heroes of the past or from myths and legends. These heroes are akin to normal humans from the outside, but every hero legacy, someone born into a family of heroes has a super weapon that when activated make them on par with gods. One thing about Naruto is that he is one of these legacies. Naruto may seem normal, and yes, he is a prankster, and also, he would rather play video games than actually do anything athletic, but he was the wielder of the most powerful weapon of the hero's history. He hasn't activated it in 2 years, but the sword is a buster, a sword that when used at full potential, could destroy that which the type of buster it is, for example. Naruto is thought to be a galaxy buster, capable of destroying the Milky Way with a single sword strike if he were to go full power. The perks that come with the weapon are ridiculous speed, agility, dexterity, strength, and durability related to the strength of the sword, with his sword status even holding back would put him on the same level as God. It's been 2 years since his training to use the sword was completed by his guardian, 2 years since he swore he would never draw the sword again. Without a second thought Naruto was sprinting to the boy, taking his bag off his shoulder in the process. When he got to the scene, he shoved the bag into the arms of the boy. "Guard that with your life," he said seriously. The boy, the winged girl, and the two secretly watching, stared in shock at the sight of the blonde arriving on the scene. "What the hell is a human doing here?" the girl with wings asked, glaring at Naruto. "Doing what heroes do." He made a motion like he was drawing a sword. Red light shined in the area as Naruto pulled a large 5-foot bastard sword that was at least 5 inches thick. The blade was red, almost like it was on fire. The hilt of the sword were curved, while the handle was at least 5 inches long. He held it with 2 hands. Red arm guards appeared on his forearms. A red mist took form around his head, taking a shape of fox ears. More red mist formed a tail at the base of his spine, where his tailbone would be. The sword was Ragnarok. The form he was in was the suitor fox form. This form could, in theory, go up to 9 tails. However, if that were to happen, one swing of the sword could destroy the Milky Way galaxy. "What the hell?" the crow-winged girl asked in shock. This was the question on all who was present minds. "Fair warning, leave now and you live, stay I will give you 1 shot, just 1, however, be wise about this, and don't." While he was talking the girl threw a light spear at the blonde. It hit his chest right where his heart was. It did burn through his clothes, but when it hit his skin, it shattered in light particles. "Wasted," Naruto sighed. "I warned you." Rainer couldn't believe it. Her light spear hit, she was sure of it, but it just shattered. She readied another spear intending to get in close for the throat. Suddenly the blonde was gone, and the sword was now protruding out her chest. She turned to see that the blonde boy was behind her. She looked ahead again to see that he was indeed not in front of the plain-looking boy anymore. When she coughed up blood as her eyes lost their light, the last thing she would see would be a scowling blonde with blue eyes. Naruto ripped his sword out from the girl's back and made a motion to put it away. As he did this his power left him. The red mist dissipated from his body. He let out a sigh, but then felt extremely hungry. He went up to the boy. "My bag please." The brown hair boy seemed to be fine, though there was a bit of a wet spot in his pants. He handed Naruto his bag back. Making sure everything was in order and nothing was out of place or broken, the blonde turned and left. "Wait, who the hell are you?" the boy shouted from on the ground. He didn't get an answer, but at that moment he noticed his situation in his pants and groaned. Rias and her best friend Akeno were the ones that were there as well, seeing the events take place. Both were shocked to see the power the blonde instantly gave off. It was both suffocating and arousing, but given that they're devils and devils are attracted to power, it was understandable that the two would be thirsty for the blonde boy, but when the power left just as fast as it came. The two were in shock by how the power made them feel. Who was that? Akeno found herself asking what she thought was an important question. "I met him earlier today." Rias started finally getting a hold of herself. "We talked for at least 30 minutes, but I never once sensed anything like that from him." She shook her head. The question on her mind was how he could contain that power on such a level that it could not be detected even when they are right in front of you. "That's strange, you never sensed that much power." A shake of the head. "Interesting. Let's go, we're not going to get answers standing around." Akeno stared at her friend confused. "What about Haidu-kun? You said you sensed a great power from him, right?" "I did, but we will try a different strategy with him at a later date. For now I need a shower, for some reason I feel so dirty." Akeno purred. "I know what you mean, a fish could drown in my panties right now." "You, gross." Akeno smiled back at her friend and started to let out a giggle. The next day at school Naruto is in his usual spot by the old school building. Kurama had just eaten and was now curled up next to the blonde purring. Instead of his game system Naruto had his laptop out and was typing away on it. There was a rhythm to his typing. The clicking of the keys was going at about 100 words per minute. Naruto was not writing a paper for school. He was doing his job. He was fine-tuning his review on another game that he had just finished. His editor was meeting him today after school to go over it with him and see if changes needed to be made. Usually there wasn't. "Hey Narukoi," he heard a feminine voice say. When he looked up, he saw the red-headed Rias standing in front of him, and next to her was another beauty that he never took notice of before. "Tomato Haim, hey back, so was the Nadeshiko." He nodded his head to the black-haired girl who looked surprised by the choice of words to describe her. This is my friend Akeno, Rias introduced the girl that, to Naruto, looked like the ideal Japanese wife. A pleasure Uzumaki-san, she bowed her head to the boy, a little more than usual, meaning that she saw the boy as someone above her, why he did not know, they looked to be the same age. No don't do that formal crap just call me Naruto. How about Narukoi? Rias smirked enjoying the annoyed look she got from the blonde. I tolerate you saying it tomato Heim, but I draw the line there. How about I call you Naru-kun? Naruto blushed at the name, he nodded, okay, Akeno-chan that works for me. Hey how come you use her name? Because she didn't call me fishcake the first time we met, tomato Heim, Rias puffed up her cheeks and glared at the blonde that was laughing at her expense. Anyway, what are you working on? A review for this new game that comes out for this box, Rise of Titans. Oh, would you like to continue working on it up in the club room, over some tea? Rias offered. Only if I can bring Kurama as well, the cat perked up at that, he leapt up into the redhead's arms and started to purr, Rias began to pet the feline. That's fine, also I would like to discuss something with you as well, she led the way to the building, Naruto was trailing behind her and Akeno, he couldn't help but notice that Akeno, and Rias for that matter, had wide hips that were mesmerizing to watch. Before he knew it, he was in the club room, he didn't much care for how it looked, he instead went straight for the big armchair and sat down, he pulled the table next to the chair around to be set up in front of him and placed his laptop on it, within minutes he was back on the computer typing up his review, so, what's up tomato Heim? Glad you're sitting down, I wanted to talk about yesterday. Okay what about it? Well specifically last night. The typing stopped, Naruto looked up at the redhead, the alarms in his head told him to ready for a battle, he closed his laptop and stood from the chair, what about last night? He was cautious. I saw you in the park, Rias smiled. I don't know what you're talking about, you know I really ought to get back to class, he started to pack up his stuff, I'll have to rain check that tea. Please stay, I assure you we mean you no harm. Saying that doesn't make me calmer, people tend to say that when they in fact do mean you harm, but you're not people, are you? Afraid not Narukoi. Naruto was etching for the door, he looked to see that Kurama was still with Rias, he couldn't leave him behind, then what are you? Both girls let out bat-like wings from their backs, Naruto let out an exasperated sigh, devils, just great. So, you know about us? That was shocking to the redhead, most humans she's met had never heard of devils, the devil yeah, but not them as a race. Oh, I do, I know all about the supernatural, he placed his bag on the couch and took a step back, he was tensed, he wanted to flee, but he didn't want Kurama to be left behind. That makes this easier, so do you know about the peerage system? Naruto shook his head no, it's a way to reincarnate humans and other creatures into devils and allow them to serve the king. So, slavery? No, they still maintain their individuality and they also have free will to do things, so long as it does not go against the king. Just sounds like slavery with extra steps. No, the point I am making is that it also grants power to the reincarnated. I don't need power, tomato Heim, if you did see last night then you know that's true, look, how about this, you keep quiet about me, and I'll keep quiet about you, and we pretend that nobody saw anything. Sorry Narukoi, you see I need a strong peerage, for reasons I do not wish to discuss, I require an ace in the hole if you will, Rias laced her fingers and leaned forward, Kurama decided to go back to the blonde at that moment, now I do have full confidence in my members and their abilities, but for the fight I am trying to prepare for, I still need more firepower. Look, I'd love to help, but I'm just not into the whole slavery thing, so yeah it's a pass, now that he had Kurama he grabbed his bag and turned to leave. At least consider it, even if you don't need more power, as you claim, there is other perks to becoming a devil, Rias tried again to get the boy on her side, however, a part of her saw it as a vain attempt, another small part of her had hope he would join. Such as? Well, if you move up in ranks you could get your own peerage, also there are some abilities that reincarnated devils get, depending on the pieces, also, the more contracts you have with humans, the more power you will have, and your status will go up. Sounds good, now tell me the disadvantages, Naruto was closer to the door, but he held a look in his eyes that pretty much said I don't care, the answer is no. Oh, well you become more susceptible to holy energy, you can't ever go into churches, holy water will be like acid, and holy light from angels and fallen angels will do fatal damage as well, she wanted to be honest, if it meant to have him consider it at least a little bit. Listen, tomato Heim, I don't need the power, plus what I do have makes me near invincible, what you're selling I just have no interest in, so as I said before, no thank you, he turned and left. When the door closed, Ria's head hit the desk, then again, idiot, I should have tried harder to convince him, Lucifer damn it. Now, all is fine still, you still have Haidu-kun to consider, he may be easier to convince than the blonde stud, Akeno giggled, she handed Rias her cup of tea and went to sit on the couch. Yeah, you're right, I believe Haidu-kun has a long anus, but he would still need to be whipped into shape. Would you like me to invite Haidu-kun over for tea and see if you can convince him to join? If you don't mind, given what we know about him, he would probably jump at the chance to go anywhere with one of the great ladies. The Kendo giggled, indeed. When the final bell that ended the day rung, Naruto was on his way out of the school. He planned on going back to the cafe again to finish his article and send it. He was also to meet his editor there as well later tonight to discuss the article and to give the blonde new games to play. While he was leaving, he overheard conversations about the two great ladies. When he looked to see what was getting everyone's interest, he noticed that the black-haired girl, Akeno, was walking with the boy that he saved last night. He rolled his eyes. He knew exactly why he was with her. They were going to try and recruit him, since he himself was a bust. But none of that was his concern. He had an article to finish and games to play. He didn't want to have to deal with the supernatural at all. Naruto had fought the supernatural before, when he was still a hero. Mostly it was just small-time monsters and stray devils, but ever since an incident 2 years ago, he lost all interest in fighting the supernatural. His guardian was once a legend amongst the hero faction, now has just a peeping Tom with a popular smut series. That man doesn't partake in the supernatural, and neither does Naruto. Last night was to be a one-time thing. He saw that someone was in trouble, and his body moved on its own. By the time he was aware of what was happening, he was already standing between that fallen and the boy. But he dismissed that line of thinking. Right now he wanted some tea and cake. While walking to the cafe, he noticed that he was being followed. He glanced at a nearby building with a lot of windows and saw that a man in a trench coat with a fedora was trailing behind him. The man was trying not to be obvious with his tail, but Naruto knew right off that this man was following him. To see if the man was truly trying to follow him, he walked into a convenience store, not making it obvious that he knew he was being followed. He went to the magazine rack and picked up the magazine that he writes for. Naruto glanced up at the reflection in the mirror near the sunglasses rack and noticed that the man was now across the street leaning against a light pole looking around, him definitely being followed. He put back the magazine and left the store. The man started to follow him again. Naruto turned down a pathway and started heading towards a more deserted part of town. When they were alone, Naruto turned down an alley. When the trench coat man turned down the same alley, he noticed that it was to a dead end. He looked around to see if the blonde was hiding. He looked in trash cans and up towards the rooftops. There was no sign of the boy. Then he felt a blade to his neck. He went to turn, but the blade got closer. Don't move, hands where I can see them. He pulled his hands out of his coat and held them up to show that he had no weapon. Why are you following me? You're not going to ask who I am? Should I care? Answer the damn question, asshole. Youth these days are so rude. My name, by the way, is Dohnaseek. I'm going to start counting. If you don't tell me why you are following me and who sent you, I'll cut your head off and wait to ask whoever comes to claim the body. Naruto pushed Ragnarok closer to the man's neck. The man let out a sigh. Suddenly black wings came out of his back, pushing Naruto away from the man. Then Dohnaseek threw a light spear at the blonde. He was shocked when his spear shattered on impact with the blonde's skin. Interesting. My light spear has no effect on you. He decided to go in and try to punch the blonde instead when he punched him in the chest, which Naruto was ready for. It was like punching a brick wall with basic human strength. Son of a bitch, close combat won't work either. Naruto went to strike the man from the left in a horizontal slash. Dohnaseek produced another light spear and blocked the attack. On impact, however, Ragnarok shattered the light spear and still sliced through the air. Dohnaseek was only able to dodge thanks to years of experience, but he didn't get out unscathed. The front of his coat had a large gash through it, and his midsection was cut and bleeding. What was weird to Dohnaseek and caused him worry was that the wound was not healing, and it burned. His instincts were screaming at him to leave the area immediately. Just when he was about to take flight, the blonde disappeared. Dohnaseek suddenly dodged to the right to avoid being slashed. Still like with before, he did not come out unscathed. A large gash was in his side now, deeper than the cut in his midsection. The wound, like the other, did not heal and burned. He held his hand over the wound to try to help with the bleeding. He was in the air now. He wanted to avoid the ground and try to keep his distance. He went over his options. His light spears have no effect, his punches do nothing, and the blonde is so fast that only his instincts can save him from being cleaved in two. There was nothing he could do other than run. Don't suppose y'all want to talk. You had your chance. Now if y'all are going to run away, get on with it, otherwise I'll stop holding back. Dohnaseek grew irritated. He couldn't tell if the blonde was bluffing or telling the truth. It took everything he had just to dodge the strikes, and now the human child claims to be holding back. Enjoy your victory for now. Next time I'll make sure the last thing you see is me crushing your heart. After stating his threat, Dohnaseek turned and left. I wish I could say that I'll never see him again, but something tells me that's not true, Naruto said aloud to himself. He willed Ragnarok away, stopped by some garbage cans to grab his bag, then proceeded on to the cafe. The abandoned church was filled with laughter, it was coming from a single female. Calwerner was a tall dark-haired fallen angel. She was watching as one of the rogue exorcists was patching up Dohnaseek. Stop laughing. She laughed harder. Wait, say it again, who did this to you? The human child. Dohnaseek didn't think Calwerner could laugh harder, he was proven wrong. One more time just so I understand. Enough. He shouted, getting her to stop her laughing. For the moment, the laughter died down to giggles, then a light chuckle. He was no ordinary human, he had this sword, and he was faster than what I could track. If I didn't rely on my instincts like I do, I surely would have been cut down. The eruption of laughter came back, causing Dohnaseek to growl in annoyance. Are you done yet? He asked the exorcist. Not yet, sir, but almost. Christ, I can't wait until we have that bitch nun with the twilight healing in our midst. He scowled as Calwerner continued her laughter. Naruto yawned as he raised his head from his desk. He felt something hard hit his head suddenly and wondered who interrupted his dream. It was a nice dream too, in it he had no school, had Kurama sitting in his lap and a mountain of video games and plenty of time to play them, but the object, which was an eraser, hitting him in his head, awoke him from his blissful sleep. After yawning, he saw the stern look of his second period teacher. She was not happy. Uzumaki, I would appreciate it if you would pay more attention. Should I remind you that your test scores are the lowest of the class? They're still passing, Naruto retorted. Yes, but if you just skirt through life on barely passing, you'll never amount to anything. She made sure to use air quotes. So, I should study more so I don't end up in a dead-end job making barely enough to survive and living alone with only my students in math class to keep me company. The comment caused the woman's face to go red. She was steaming mad. Naruto just happened to be in math class, and the teacher just happened to be living alone, with no social life. Principals now. Everyone flinched at her outburst. Naruto shrugged, he packed up his stuff and headed for the door. Like always, he walked right by the principal's office, but instead of going to his usual spot, he had another destination in mind. On clear sunny days like today, Naruto liked to go to the rooftop. He planned on going there to take a nap and catch up on his sleep. He was up late last night playing the new games he had gotten. He fell asleep in his first class too when he was ordered to go to the principal's office. Instead, he went to his secret area. He spent some time there napping with Kurama, but he kept feeling like he was being watched. He knew it was Rias. She had wanted him to join her and become a devil. He refused, but that did not stop her from always watching him. Wanting to avoid a possible encounter from the ever-watching redhead, he decided to go to the roof. Finally arriving, he let out an annoyed sigh when he saw that he wasn't alone. The brown-haired boy from last week was there looking over the schoolyard. He seemed to be in deep thought, so instead of calling out to him, Naruto made his way over to one of the benches on the roof. He placed his bag down at one end of the bench and laid his head on it. He got comfortable and started to fall asleep. Oh, when did you get here? Naruto let out another annoyed sigh. Just pretend I'm not here. Wait, do I know you? Doubtful. Wait, yeah, you were there that night. You killed Yuma-chan when she changed into that scary yet sexy fallen angel. Naruto just grunted, rather than respond to him. I found out later that she really did want to kill me, so you saved my life, thank you. He bowed, but Naruto didn't see it. He still had his arm over his eyes, ignoring the boy. Oh, by the way, my name is Issei Haidu. He bowed again. Naruto still didn't see, nor did he respond. What is your name? So, you said yes, then huh? Naruto finally said. A part of him wanted to know why the redhead was so fixated on the boy and himself. What do you mean? You made a deal with the devil. Wait, you know about the Aku. I'm going to stop you right there. Naruto sat up on his elbows. 1. Don't talk about it, okay? 2. Just answer the damn question. Oh, sorry, yes, I did agree to become a devil. Why? Why? Issei developed a huge smile. There is only one reason why I would agree to do such a thing, and that is to become a harem king. He started to laugh boastfully. Sorry I asked, Naruto groaned. He would not be able to get some sleep. He sat up, then pulled out his laptop. He started to work on his next article. One of the games he had gotten before the weekend. He finished it over the break. He noticed, without looking, that Issei sat next to him. You know, you never did tell me your name. Naruto. And last name? Just call me Naruto, okay? The blonde began to type out his review over the game. What you working on? Schoolwork. No, I'm doing my actual job. What's that? Over his shoulder, Issei started to read some of what he wrote and noticed what he was doing. You're writing a review for Everyday Life with Onisama 5. That doesn't come out for another month and a half. Should have figured you for a fan. What do you do that lets you play a game in advance? I write reviews for Game Geek. Hang on, subpar story. Worse than the last one. More on fan service than story. What the hell kind of review are you writing? Wait a minute, I know you, you're Kurama 9 sensei, aren't you? Guilty. I oughta deck you. Really? Why? It was meant to be sarcastic. Yeah, you dissed everyday life with Onisama 4, and you disdain Mother's Love 2 and 3, what is wrong with you? Ugh, listen, games should draw players in and keep them entertained. I'll admit everyday life with Onisama, the first one, was a good play, great compelling story, the fanservice actually helps the story, but then the second one came out, they pulled back on the story in favor of the fan service and added the multiple outcomes. What's wrong with that? It gives you the chance to explore the world. It's predictable, too predictable. Where's the challenge the first one gave you? Where's the excitement of getting it right and earning that reward? No, once they added more fanservice, the game started appealing to another audience just because it was a bigger sell. So? They went on to create one of the best Arage games out there. They sold out, they were taking the Arage genre to a new horizon. They could have expanded on that. Instead of giving you multiple Koheis like they did in Let's Play Senpai, they should have pulled back a bit on the number of little sisters you got to have and do a variety of options as conflict to the actual little sister. Plus, they just throw the fan service in your face, and they do it even more with 5. Wait, there was more fan service in 5. Issei suddenly got out of his sour behavior and started to get a slight nosebleed. What system do you have it for? PS4, why? Do you have it with you now? Issei was hopeful. Yeah, I was going to throw it in my editor's face and tell him to shove it up his ass sideways. Can I have it? He'll pay you for it. Wait, what? Oh, do you have to give it back? No, I get to keep them and give back or sell the ones I didn't like. Then he'll buy it off you. Let's see. He started taking out yen notes and coins. Here's all the money I have, it's only 3,500 yen. You'd keep your money, here. He handed over the game. Issei took it as if he was being given the holy grail by Jesus. Oh, the box art is so beautiful. He marveled at the Lolita girl at the front wearing a school swimsuit winking, while multiple other Lolitas were in the back wearing various outfits. I'm done with my review, you can read it when the next issue comes out. For now, just get that out of my sight. While playing the game, Naruto felt as though he had to keep an eye on his door in case the police showed up. Oh, here, I was just going to burn this later in front of my editor, but it's the correct answers to all the questions. If you clear 100 on each little sister, you get a secret ending for each one. Issei looked as though he was in front of the Almighty himself. With shaky hands, Issei took the notepad from the blonde and marveled at how organized it was. Some of those will be in my review. I do it so that all you perverts don't try to burn me alive. Yeah, that did always make me want to kill you less. Those times I was glad that you only did some. It just meant that I got to experience the story myself. Well, I do mention it in my review as one of the things that sucks about it. If you get one wrong answer, you might as well do the whole story over from the beginning, because as soon as you answer wrong on any question for any girl, you lose the chance at all the secret endings. That list took me all weekend long to complete, didn't get any sleep. How did you know about the secret endings? Read the back. Issei did, then it hit him. Yep, it tells you right on the box, but what it doesn't tell you is that you have to get all the answers right. I guess in a way it does give you some form of accomplishment when you get the secret ending. Gee, wait until my friends see this. Oh, they're going to be so jealous. Fantastic, now will you leave me alone? Oh, you have free period too. Sure. Okay, well, thanks again for the game and answers. I'm so going to play this after the club meeting today. Issei then left the roof to find his friends, him being upset about his new life in the back of his mind. Now with the game of his dreams in hand, Naruto sighed and shook his head. Guys like that are what's wrong with this world. He started to type again, but let out another sigh. I know you're there, Tomato Heim, no sense in hiding. Swooping down to land and sit next to him was Rias. When did you notice me? When I got to the roof. This intrigued Rias and made her want him on her side even more. Wow, well anyway, I saw that you were talking to my new pawn. What do you think about him? The guy's a pervert, like a major pervert, the kind that gives me headaches. Okay, but besides that, I still don't see why you picked him. I do get a sense of something with a lot of potential to be powerful from him, but I don't think he really knows the kind of power he has. I also get the feeling that if I hang around him, I'm going to have a permanent headache. Rias giggled at that. Yeah, he does stare a little too much, but he's harmless. Naruto merely grunted while he finishes typing his review. Hey, we're going to be taking Issei out on a stray devil hunt. I want to show him the ropes and what each piece does. I was wondering if you maybe wanted to come. If I say yes, will you stop staring at me when I'm on my breaks? You mean when you're skipping classes? Naruto just gave a deadpan stare. Okay, sure, I promise that I will stop staring at you, but you have to also promise that you will consider my offer. Ugh, fine, sure, I will come and consider your offer. Happy? Very. Rias gave a bright smile that made Naruto blush a bit, mostly because he wasn't expecting her to smile so cutely. So, is everyone here? Rias asked, looking around, seeing all her peerage members, plus Naruto, who was currently playing his Switch. Narukoi, are you ready? Rias asked, getting the blonde's attention. Yeah, ready when you are, Tomato Heim. Everyone in the club room gave Naruto curious looks. The nickname he used for Rias was out of left field for them, plus their king didn't seem to mind. You will have to meet us there, you know. Yeah, it's at that old abandoned mansion, right? Yep, that's the one. Great, I'll see you there. He pulled out Ragnarok, the sword, and the power Naruto released gave everyone different feelings. The three females had to control themselves, while the other two males felt as though they should bow out to him. He tapped the sword tip on the ground twice, and then he was gone, like a blip. Okay, let's go. Rias activated her magical circle and brought everyone there to the location. Upon arriving, they saw that Naruto was leaning against a tree playing his game. Took you guys long enough, he never looked up from his game. Is everyone ready for this battle? They all said yes in unison. Naruto just sighed. From what he could feel from the mansion, the stray could be taken down by one of his weak attacks. Let's go. Rias Rook, Kaneko, bust the doors down with a kick. Naruto wasn't really impressed. He could have done the same thing with a light tap. Kaneko and Rias Knight. Naruto never bothered getting his name. He just didn't care. Walked in. Naruto never looked up from his game. He barely paid attention, but he was still aware of what was going on. Rias gave a spiel on how the stray betrayed her master and that she was there to take her down. When she appeared, he heard Issei going on about breast. When he looked up, he saw a spider lady with huge breast and nothing concealing them. Oh, great, the perv is never going to shut up about this, he mostly said to himself. Issei didn't hear it, but the others did. Instead of just finishing the spider chick off, Rias decides to have each of her peerage members take a crack at fighting her to showcase their individual powers and abilities. Naruto was not the least bit impressed. Devils are powerful creatures, yes, but heroes are another story. Each generation of hero is stronger than the previous. A few decades ago, the Buster Swords came about with Naruto's retired hero Guardian Master being the first Buster wielder. Naruto is the third and last Buster wielder hero. When Naruto awakened his sword, Ragnarok, it was theorized that his Buster Sword was a Galaxy Buster. Naruto has never once had to go all out against an opponent. He was also instructed by his master that he never should. Naruto let out a sigh. What do you think, Narukoi? Rias looked to see if the blonde ex-hero was impressed. He was putting his game system in the shoulder bag he had with him. Naruto looked right at Rias and made a so-so gesture with his hand. Hey, they're okay. I get that you are only toying with the stray, but even if they are only using half of their power, I could do better at 1%. Narukoi, that's rude of you to say, but if you feel that way then please show us. She gestured to the stray in front of them. Okay, he handed his shoulder bag that had his switch in it to Issei. You break that I break you, the plain-looking boy gulped. Naruto stood right in front of the stray. He pulled out Ragnarok and had it resting on the ground. Again the power he gave off was staggering. Even the stray hesitated for a moment, then she stood her ground. Go ahead and use your strongest attack. So be it, I'll finish you off with one hit. She grabbed her breast and moaned a bit. Naruto raised an eyebrow. At first Issei was enjoying the little show. Even if it was a spider lady, it was still a girl groping her own breast and moaning. However, his excitement wasn't long-lived. Powerful lasers that cut straight through the ceiling and through some of the beams came from her nipples. She moved the rock-cutting lasers right at Naruto. Naruto, not from his shock of the attack, just stood there to take it. He wanted to prove a point. Narukoi. Rias shouted. The stray devil began to laugh. So, he was all bark and no bite, the spider chick said, smirking. Nah, I'm just making a statement. The smoke cleared and gave a shock to all that was present. Even though his uniform was badly damaged and ripped to shreds, there wasn't a scratch on his actual body. See Tomato Heim. Naruto looked back at the redhead. I'm tougher and more durable than your queen. Then Naruto disappeared, just gone with no indication that he used a teleportation. Suddenly the spider chick was screaming in pain as she was flying up with all her legs severed. When she was about to land, they saw Naruto was standing under her. I'm faster than your knight. She landed on top of the blonde, to which Naruto held her up with one hand and with one finger. He then spun her like a basketball. I'm stronger than your Rook. Blood sprayed everywhere from her stump legs. He threw her up into the air. I have more magical power than any bishop. He fired a small red ball of energy from his hand. It shot through the air and pierced her spider backside. She landed behind Naruto as he started to walk towards the others. Here's an example of 1% of my power. He passed by Rias. You can put her out of her misery now. Naruto dismissed Ragnarok and the urge to jump the blonde's bones left Rias. Naruto took back his bag from Issei and made sure there wasn't a scratch on his switch. Satisfied, he started to play his game again. Rias had to shake her head to clear it of shock. She turned towards the stray and built up the power of destruction and fired. The small ball of black and red energy contacted with the stray. Then there was nothing left of her. See you around, Tomato Heim. This was definitely a learning experience. He decided to walk away from them rather than teleport. On his way home he could sense another presence following him. It was like the fallen that tried to kill him the other day. It was also late at night and there was no one around. Even glancing behind him he saw no one. Then he decided to look up, but again nothing. He turned his attention back to his game and continued walking. When Naruto turned a corner, he noticed that there was a blonde child in a black and white gothic Lolita-type dress. She appeared to be playing hopscotch, but there were no chalk drawings on the ground. Naruto turned his game off and placed it in his bag, then let out a sigh. What now? Hey mister, want to play with me? The little girl asked in a sweet voice. Naruto groaned. Listen fallen angel, leave me be and there won't be a fight. I don't want to fight, I'm here with a proposition. How would you like to join us and help us realize our Lord's plan to get us back into heaven? You'll be greatly rewarded. Pass. Naruto turned to walk away. It would behoove you to reconsider, because if you aren't with our Lord then you're against him. Believe me, you do not want him as an enemy. He is leagues above Dohnaseek. I'll take my chances, now don't you have a curfew? It'll have you know I am over 1200 years old. Wow, well then the cosmetics company will want your beauty secrets because you don't look a day over 12. Good night little girl. The girl grew irritated. When Naruto's back was turned, she made a light spear and charged forward ready to skewer him. Naruto quickly summoned Ragnarok just before the spear hit his exposed back. On impact the spear shattered. Naruto whipped around faster than the small fallen could detect and sliced his sword across her midsection. He purposely made sure that it was not a deep cut. The small female fallen angel held the wound and hissed in pain. Final warning, leave now or next time I'll make sure not to hold back like I did with the other two. Unlike the ones before her, she believed him. I know, I figured as much, but unlike the others, I didn't come alone. Another light spear tried to cleave his head off, but like the others it shattered on impact. Naruto turned to see a black-haired woman with an irritated look on her face. She, like the others before, had black wings. Ugh, another one. He didn't want to fight because he didn't want his switch to get damaged if it escalated. So, you think that more of you could take me on? Or did you just want to see for yourself that your attacks have no effect on me? Filthy human, the woman moved away from him to stand next to the girl. So, he was right, the light spears do shatter. Duh, did you not see that I tried that? Yours was too weak, I tried a stronger one. She scowled even more after saying that. Still same result though. What should we do? The little girl asked. She was still holding her wound. By now it was stinging and only slightly bleeding, but was still not healed like normal wounds would for her. That's an asshole, but Dohnaseek is an experienced fighter and he came back on the verge of death. I thought that numbers and a surprise attack would do the trick, but since it didn't, I don't know what to do. Great, just great, why don't we just flee? Dohnaseek will never let us live it down. Better than dying. I don't know about you, but I want to live long enough to get back into heaven. I know what you mean, okay, a tactical retreat it is. She spread out her wings, as did the small blonde girl. Fair warning, our master is stronger than the three of us combined. If you value your life then stay out of his way. You must be confused, I'm not trying to get in anyone's way of anything. You want to go back to heaven, good for you, but leave me alone. Naruto made sure to flare his power just slightly. It seemed to work in his favor, because they faltered in the air for a bit. We're gone, they both turned in air and flew off into the night. Naruto dismissed Ragnarok and checked his switch. Everything was fine and still working. He started it up and continued to play it while walking home. XXX. Several weeks went by since the stray attack and those fallen angels. Naruto was enjoying it all. Rias had stopped staring at him. She still talked to him though, but she has stopped trying to get him to join her, so that was a plus to the blonde. Issei kept hanging around Naruto. He was always asking him about any new Arage games, Naruto explained, very loudly and forcefully. But he does not play those all the time. The magazine would give their writers different games every time. Naruto won't always get Arage games. When he writes articles about that game genre the magazine would double in sales. That's why he kept getting Arage games. Like it or hate it, people wanted to know Kurama 9 Sensei's view on the popular Arage series. Even after the outburst Issei still would hang around him when Naruto just wanted to be alone and play his games right. Naruto had also obtained a free pass on coming to the orc room whenever he wanted. He did it mostly because he could sit in a comfy chair, drink tea and write his reviews or play his video games. All the while Rias would conduct her business with her peerage. But all the time he was there Rias, Akeno, and even Kaneko would sometimes glance over at him. It seemed as if they wanted something, but would turn away or say that it was nothing when he would ask about it. Kurama also was allowed in the orc room. He even had his own litter box to go in. He had a new bed and cat tower to play on. He would get great food every day courtesy of the women of the orc. Other than Naruto, Kurama liked Kaneko a lot. He would always lay in her lap while she munched away on snacks. It would also seem that the two would hold conversations. Today, while Naruto was writing his review on another new game to be released, it was another remake of a classic title. It was revamped for the Switch, so Naruto had already played through it thanks to his time in the orc room. Issei though was not enjoying today. He was being scolded by Rias about a nun that he met earlier that day. Issei, we are devils, we do not associate with the church. I understand, but she isn't all that bad, she's really nice. She is still a nun, which makes her the church and makes her off limits. Naruto looked up from his computer. He has never seen Rias that upset. I forbid you from ever speaking to her again, understood? But. Understood. Yes, but you. Good, now moving on, Kaneko is backed up with requests, so to help you get more contracts I am giving you one of hers. She handed Issei a piece of paper, go to that address, and please try to get a contract this time. Yes, but you, Issei left out the door, he still could not use the teleportation magic. When he was gone, Rias started to rub her temples. By this time there was no one in the room, except the two of them. Geez, remind me not to get on your bad side. Not right now, Narukoi, Rias sighed, rubbing her temples. You know you've been working really hard lately, even with the training with Issei. Why are you going so hard? It's nothing, she sighed. Doesn't exactly sound like nothing, I've noticed that for the past couple of days. You've had this worried look when you think no one is watching. Are you saying that you watch me? No, what I am saying is that you see. Really what I meant now it was, you know what, forget I said anything. Narukoi. What? Naruto's voice was irritated. Thank you, he stared at her for a moment. He was about to ask what she meant when she spoke again, say Narukoi, can I ask you something? You just did, he smirked. She groaned, I'm serious. Go ahead. Even if you are not part of my peerage, would you still fight for my happiness? What kind of question is that? Never mind, she dismissed it, and the blonde decided to let it go. The two of them went back to work, and soon an hour passed by. Suddenly the doors to the clubroom came busting open. But you, they got her. What? They have her, but you, she's in trouble, we have to help her. Issei was in a panic. The last time Naruto saw him like this was when he was being chased by a bunch of girls with kendo sticks. Around this time the other members were returning from their separate errands missions. Who has who? The fallen angels, they have Asia-chan. Issei explained the situation, how when he got to the location there was blood all over, then an exorcist and a fallen angel took the girl. Rias had her fingers laced and paid attention to the story her pawn was telling. When he was finished, she let out a sigh, I'm sorry, but there is nothing that we can do. If we go after them, it could start a war. Then just go, you won't have to worry about it. The others in the room stared at Issei with varying expressions, except for Naruto, he was still typing away on his computer. I can't allow that, if you do go then you could be labeled as a stray, and I would have to hunt you down. Suddenly the room seemed to get colder. Issei was fighting back the urge to shout, cry, or something else. Fine, he turned and left. Soon after he did so Kaneko and Ria's knight, Kiba, followed him. You know he's going to go after her, right? Naruto said while he finished his review. Yes, I know, she let out a groan. Well, I'm going to take a little break and take a walk. Rias nodded, but didn't look up at the blonde. Tomato Heim, to what you said earlier, you know about fighting for your happiness. So, you did hear that? Yeah, well, Naruto gave her a thumbs up and a foxy grin. The answer is of course yes, I will always be in your corner, just not as a devil, but as a friend, and that is a promise of a lifetime. This lifted the redhead spirits. She smiled that cute smile that Naruto wanted to see more of. Thank you, Narukoi. You got it, Tomato Heim. Naruto waved goodbye and left the room. XXX. Finding Issei wasn't that hard, he didn't get that far, and tracking him was easy as well. When the plain boy went into the woods, Kaneko and Kiba followed him, and following them was Naruto. When the blonde was arriving, the group was trying to figure out what to do about the exorcists outside the church. Sup guys? What are you doing here, senpai? Issei was not expecting the blonde to show up. Making sure you guys don't give Tomato Heim more of a headache. Listen perv, you want to save your lady friend, that's fine, but let me do all the fighting, okay? We can't let you fight alone, Kiba stated. Thanks for the concern, pretty boy, but I'll manage. Plus if you all go around killing fallen angels in a church, that would be bad. Plus, a major headache. Naruto left the clearing and drew Ragnarok. The power the three felt from him was slightly more potent than the last time they saw him in this form. Then they noticed it, his normal one tail was thicker. Before they only saw his one tail as skinny. The three stood in awe. It was as if he didn't move. The group of a couple dozen exorcists were cut down in an instant. Issei and Kaneko blinked and missed what happened. Only Kiba could barely see the blur-like movements of the blonde, but even he could not fully track all the older boy's movements. Naruto made a hand gesture. The sign for the coast is clear, then proceeded to enter the church. More exorcist was there, and like before they were all cut down in an instant. Then a perverted-looking exorcist showed up from behind the pew. That's the guy who took Asia. Devil-kun has returned to help the little nun bitch, and he brought friends. You sure did a number on my associates. When the man spoke, Kiba was frozen, not with fear but with rage. You bastard, you're here. Kiba's outburst was a shock to all who was present. If it isn't one of the failed Excalibur experiments, Sigmund Freed, an ex-exorcist, and a sicko from the Blonde Knight's past. The guy relished in the pain of others and loved to kill, especially little girls. Have you come back to die and join the others? You bastard. Kiba activated his sacred gear and moved forward to take him down. I have this guy, the rest of you go after Issei-san's friend. Issei and Kaneko headed towards the pew, but Freed pulled out his gun to shoot upon, but before he could pull the trigger, he saw his own arm with the gun in hand still go flying. Blood sprayed everywhere as it twirled to land on the floor, creating a pool of blood around the limb. He looked at Kiba, but there was no way he could have covered that distance, plus he had no blood on his sword. Yeah, can't let you shoot the kid until he saves his damsel in distress, Naruto smiled, plus had to give the pretty boy a handicap. He gave a two-finger salute and followed after Issei and Kaneko. Before Issei could get to the large double doors where they were keeping the girl, a fallen angel in a fedora and trench coat showed up to block his path. Sorry kid, can't let you disturb the process. What are you talking about? Don't worry, you can have her when we're done, but since we're removing her sacred gear, she won't be very much alive. He had an evil smile, but it vanished when he saw the blonde boy silhouetted in red mist. You. Do I know you? Naruto doesn't recall meeting this fallen angel. Bastard, you're the one that broke my centuries-old record of not having a single scratch from any battle, and you act as if you don't know me. He formed a light spear, it'll kill you right here and now. He threw the spear at the blonde, but it shattered on impact. Kaneko and Issei were shocked to see this take place. You two might want to get out of here, this shouldn't take long, Naruto said while looking right at the fallen angel. The other two moved forward, Dohnaseek ignored them, his focus solely on the blonde boy. You are going to eat those words, there is no way you can reach me from up here. He started to laugh, then he noticed the blonde was gone. He looked around for him, then just as his instincts were telling him to dodge, he saw a large blade protruding from his chest. When you're high up and saying that, make sure there isn't a wall behind you. Naruto pushed the sword deeper in, the fallen gurgled on his own blood a response, but it couldn't be identified. Plus, I can jump really high. When the gurgling sound stopped, and Naruto could tell that the man was no longer alive, he took his sword out and landed on the ground in a crouch. Then he made his way towards where Issei and Kaneko went. When he got further down the large caverns, he got to a battle between Kaneko and the blonde Lolita. When the blonde girl noticed Naruto, she froze in shock and horror. Kaneko capitalized on this and punched her square in the jaw as hard as she could. This sent her flying off in the opposite direction, and she made impact with a wall. An indent was now in the wall in the shape of the girl. And blood started to trickle down from the indent, then the blonde Lolita fell forward unmoving. Naruto whistled at that, even though he knew he was stronger and could do the same thing with a finger flick, it was still a shock to realize that the small girl could pack a devastating punch. Kaneko gave him a thumbs up, nice shot. Whoa, what happened to your clothes? Stupid fallen, she said trying to hide what she could. Naruto took off his school shirt and was now in a black wife beater. Kaneko blushed a bit when he got closer to her to put the shirt on over her torn clothes. She could see his well-toned arms. In his form, it seemed that his muscles got more defined. Thank you, he patted her head and scratched the top a bit. Strangely enough, Naruto heard purring from the small girl. It's no problem, Nico-chan, he smiled. Then the two went further in to help Issei. When they got to the room, Issei was beaten and bruised, but he was standing over a defeated fallen angel. Naruto noticed how tired Issei was, so did the exorcists in the room. They chose that moment to try and shoot the boy down, but none of them got the chance. Naruto made sure of that. But the last of them taken care of, Kiba, Rias, and Akeno chose that moment to show up. Issei went over to Asia and saw that she wasn't breathing. He also noticed two silver rings with an emerald in both next to her. Asia-chan, wake up. Rias went up to her pawn and placed a hand on his shoulder. Sorry Issei, but if she had the sacred gear taken from her then she's gone. No, we can still save her, you can still save her, right? But you? Issei, this is the cause of your actions. If you had listened to me then you wouldn't be here. It was cold, but Rias had to be harsh on him. He could have started a war. Luckily, she was able to receive a last-minute notice from the leader of the Fallen, saying that those are traitors and should be treated as stray devils, so that was a go-ahead for her to intervene. After all, they were trespassing on her territory. Please, I was her first friend and I promised her that I would save her. He held the girl tighter. I promised. Naruto walked up to Rias. Tomato Haim, you know you can do something, why don't you? He made a promise after all. Narukoi, I know I do, but Issei needs to learn that actions bear consequences. Yeah, but are you really okay with sacrificing a little girl to prove a point? Rias knew he was right, she sighed. I can resurrect her as my bishop, but Issei, the boy turned to his king with a relieved look, you'll still need to receive punishment for disobeying me and bringing your fellow club members in this, and worst a human as well. It will be a painful and severe punishment. She took out her bishop piece and placed it, along with the twilight healing rings, on the girl's chest and recited the incantation that would revive the girl as a devil. It took a minute or so for the girl to open her eyes, but once she did, the first thing she saw was her first friend, Issei-kun, what happened, where are we? She looked around, she noticed how little dressed she was and blushed, who are they? Issei began to explain everything to the girl regarding what happened and the state of her now being a devil, all the while Naruto stood off to the side watching with a saddened look. "How come you were so adamant on me resurrecting her?" Rias unknowingly caused the look to vanish when she asked. "It's a long story, but let's say that before I stopped being a hero, I made a promise I couldn't keep and paid heavily for it. I couldn't stand by when a similar promise would have been broken, especially if something could be done." "What sort of promise was that?" "A story for another time, besides you have your hands full, discipline to give out, a new member to have the talk with, plus I have my own work to do that I put off for this, see you later." He turned and walked out of the caverns. Rias watched as he left and she couldn't help but wonder what it was that he promised, who it was to, and what made him stop being a hero. But all these questions would have to wait, what he said was true, she had her hands full. XXX. 3 weeks went by since Asia joined the peerage. She was still in shock and awe by the whole resurrection. Currently she was staying with Issei in one of his guest rooms. That certainly was an entertaining story for the other class members. One person that she couldn't get over was Naruto. She was told he was human, yet he hung out with the devils as if he was one of them. She hardly conversed with her fellow blonde. He was always either on his laptop or he was playing his gaming device. He was an enigma. She was told by Issei, her first ever friend, that he was a real nice guy and that if giving the chance she should talk to him, but she found him to be a bit intimidating. The day she was going to talk to him, she saw him in the club room, the orange cat that was said to be his, sitting in his lap. Today he was reading a magazine, Game Geek. She saw a similar magazine in Issei's room. She wondered what it was and thought this would be a good conversation starter. Uzumaki-san." He glared at her and she eped. "Sorry, I just don't like the honorifics or the use of my last name, just Naruto is fine." Sorry, Naruto-san," he just grunted this time. "I was wondering about that magazine, usually you're not reading." "Oh, this is the magazine I write for. I get a free subscription and I have like 5 reviews in here, plus I like reading my peers' reviews as well on other games." "Oh, you're a writer, that is wonderful. I always loved stories, so what is reviews anyway?" "Yeah, I've never heard of reviews before." She shook her head. "Oh, well, reviews are where somebody writes about something to help people decide if it is worthy buying it or not. You can see reviews in newspapers about restaurants and movies, and some magazines do more specific reviews, like this one." He gestured to the magazine. "It has information on what is new and what is coming up. It also has reviews in it about various video games. I have more reviews than other writers because of my popularity with readers. I'm honest, I'm descriptive, and I tend to stray away from spoilers. I also, with some games, give tips, tricks, and advice on how to complete them as well. What I love about writing about video games is the fact that I get to play these games weeks before its release. Sure, some of them suck, but sometimes I get a rare gem, it's awesome, plus I get to keep all the games I do reviews on." "You really seem passionate about these video games." Asia developed a sad look. "I miss having that sort of passion. Ever since I became a devil, I had to stop all the things I grew up with, like praying to God." Ow. She grabbed her head in pain. This was awkward for Naruto. He didn't know what to do with a sad girl. Has never been in a situation like this, so he took a deep breath and decided to push away his awkwardness and try to help lift the girl's spirits the only way he knew how. "Video games, Asia, have you ever played video games before?" She shook her head. "No." "Okay, well I have something with me that we both can play, let's move to the couch." Later when the other members of the orc came into the room, they were met with quite a sight. Naruto and Asia were staring at a small screen that was propped up by a little piece in the back. Both had the tiny controllers that they usually see attached to the game system turned sideways in their hands, hitting buttons fiercely. Well, Asia was hitting buttons fiercely. Then they heard from the small screen say game, then it was followed by "and the winner is Kirby." "Hey, you're getting better, Asia-chan." "Thank you, senpai, can we play again?" Asia's mood had changed from before. She was now smiling a big happy smile. Naruto couldn't help but return the smile. He never had a younger sibling, but a part of him feels as though this is what it would be like to have a little sister. "Sure, oh hey guys." Naruto noticed the others were there. "When did you get here?" A little bit ago, so what's going on?" Rias answered, then asked. "Oh, I'm showing Asia-chan how to play video games. The only one I had with me was Smash Brothers, but she's getting better at it. I like Kirby, he's cute, and Icarus, did I say that right?" She looked to the older blonde. He nodded. "He looks like an angel and I played as him, but Kirby is easier." "Yeah, Kirby is perfect for beginners." "Wonderful, well we have to start the meeting now, so I'm afraid you won't be able to play much more." The club president's statement caused the ex-nun to adopt the sad look again, but Naruto didn't want her to be sad again. "It's okay, Asia-chan, we can play some more another time, okay? I end here guys."